Hello, Catherine Foley is my name, and I'm going to read again today from my book Beyond the Breakwater, and going to carry on until it's finished. Today's chapter is chapter 25, and it's called Boys. I began to notice boys at a young age. I'm not sure if it was out of innocent curiosity or because of the early onset of carnal desire. Anyway, two little boys from Liverpool, home on holidays in August, used to play near us on the Breakwater in Passage East, where we used to spend all our holidays when we lived in Waterford in the 1960s. Was it their blonde hair, their strange accents, their athleticism, or their smart clothes that caught my attention first? All I remember is that the sun shone when they appeared. I used to see their little legs and elbows going like pistons as I watched from a discreet distance. When I was about 9, I remember being shy, being interested, and wondering how I could get closer to these intriguing specimens of Liverpudlian boyhood. I recall watching them covertly from the storm wall that ran along by the Cockle Walk. Of course, this was an unspoken passion, and sadly my presence remained unmarked by them. During this time I was also charged with keeping an eye on my 2 younger sisters, and while I issued instructions to them about holding my hand when crossing to the shop, or asked them for another candy cigarette or jelly baby, I was all the while aware of the 2 golden-haired, brown-kneed gods who sat on high atop the breakwater, watching the tide turn and the waves break on the strand. My pulse seemed to quicken at the sight of them, and my awareness of their proximity was acute. Then there was Jacko the monkey. Of course my 2 siblings, to my great annoyance, had fun teasing me about him. They would call to me to tell me he had passed our house in Waterford, that he had looked in, or that he had stopped to ask my mother a question. "Jacko the monkey," they would sing. I used to blush on having my barely expressed, barely formed interest so rudely unmasked. And my interest in this young man, who used to sell badges for the Scouts in Waterford, it was so fleeting that he's hardly worth a mention. It was only that a mention of his nickname or a sighting of his distant figure cycling up John's Hill was enough to have my sisters in giggles. It was when I was at boarding school in Cork that I discovered Donny Osmond, a key figure in my development as a teenager. He was all the rage in the early 1970s. While I was there in boarding school, I had a photograph of this pouting, dark-haired singer surrounded by his large family in pride of place on my bedside table, the innocence. I had the black and white photo in a little stand-alone picture frame. I recall the head nun coming to visit me in my cubicle once when I was sick in bed. She saw the picture and smiled indulgently. "Is that the family?" she asked me gently. "Yes, sister," I told her, glancing briefly at Donny and the rest of the Osmonds, not wanting to draw too much attention to this figure of desire. "And where are you?" she asked me, and so, to my embarrassment, I had to explain who he was. After I had spent 2 years at the boarding school in Cork, it closed, much to the disappointment of my sisters, who thought they'd never get to experience for themselves the joys of midnight feasts, tuck boxes, and long weekends away from home. But I came home to attend the all-girl Presentation Convent Secondary School. This involved more girls, more nuns, and consequently there was a period when I worried that there was surely a dearth of similarly aged young men in the world, as I was not meeting any of them. I came to believe that none existed, and I told myself that I should accept my fate. And thus it wasn't until I grew up and learned to break the sound barrier that I spoke to these gods of allure, of maleness, of beauty. To me, Boys are figures of romance and adventure. Boys, in my eyes, will always be mysterious, unknowable and distant. Thank heavens for their seeming indifference, perched high on a breakwater, gazing out to sea. Thank heavens for their difference, for their ability to remain aloof and fleeting, and for all their strange, otherworldly qualities. So that's it for today. Talk to you again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Bye now and thank you.